Today I'm going to talk about why the United States should keep the death penalty as a form of punishment for heinous crimes. Death penalty, capital punishment, or execution is the legal process of putting a person to death as a punishment for a crime. The death penalty was brought to America by European colonists but later abolished in the 1972 case Furman v. Georgia. In 1978, the death penalty was reinstated. According to the Death Penalty Information Center, methods of execution include lethal injection, electrocution, gas chamber, hanging, and firing squad. Lethal injection is the primary method in the 32 states where capital punishment is legal, with almost no state using any other method of execution. According to the Gallup organization, 2 in 3 Americans support capital punishment. Cornell University Law Information Institute states that the United States Supreme Court has determined that a penalty must be proportional to the crime. Otherwise, the punishment violates the Eighth Amendment's prohibition against cruel and unusual punishments. Therefore, the death penalty is only given as a punishment to some of the most severe crimes you could commit. The United States needs to keep the death penalty as a form of punishment in order to deter future criminals, ensure justice, and bring closure to victims. To maintain law and order in the United States, we must deter future criminals from committing crimes. Capital punishment is the ultimate warning. By abolishing the death penalty, we would be teaching would-be criminals that murder is bad, but the state will give you a place to live and food for free. Prison is no walk in the park, but it beats being put to death. Everyone, even murderers, fear death. Some murderers are going to murder no matter the warning of life in prison or death, but some might be inclined to spare a victim's life when fearing the death sentence. Most criminals on death row exhaust every legal point possible to avoid the death penalty because they fear death. Although there is no way to know how many would-be murderers spared the lives of their victims in fear of being sentenced to death, it is probable that fear of the death penalty has deterred some from murdering. When Dmitry Smerdov killed his ex-girlfriend in Illinois in 2011, prosecutors discovered that he had researched the law on the internet to discover if the state had the death penalty before going ahead with the killing. It is reasonable to assume that if Illinois had not just abolished it, she might be alive today, according to ethiticapolitica.org. In order to honor victims, it is our duty to bring closure to their families by keeping the death penalty as a punishment. Many murder victims' families are pro-capital punishment. A murder victim can never come back to life, which is possibly the only way for a victim's loved ones to truly recover. But knowing that the murderer of your loved one has no possible way of ever hurting anyone else may bring some peace. The only way to get closure from one of the most heinous crimes that can be committed would be knowing that a murderer can never commit the same crime. Death being the most feared form of punishment, having the murderer put to death for the killing would mean that the punishment fit the crime. Finally, I'm going to talk about how the death penalty maintains social order and can bring justice to the deserving. The death penalty brings justice to murder victims who can never seek justice themselves. It is the citizen's duty to support capital punishment in order to bring justice to the deserving. The penalty will also bring some sense of peace to the public. Having the citizens of the United States know that people who commit murder could endure the ultimate punishment might help them sleep better at night. Capital punishment does what it can to maintain social order, being that it instills fear into possible murderers that they themselves could one day or could be put in the same position if caught. In order to ensure justice on all sides, in the United States, the death penalty is limited under the Eighth Amendment to the United States Constitution. It is meted out only in cases of aggravated murders committed by mentally competent adults, according to mapsofworld.com. The United States does not take capital punishment lightly. In conclusion, the death penalty should be kept as a form of punishment in the United States in order to deter future criminals, ensure justice, and bring closure to victims and their loved ones.